The roar of the sea was deafening, crashing against the shores, salt spraying into our faces. The air trembled with the memory of what had just happened, the most powerful army on earth, swallowed in an instant by the waters we had only moments ago feared would swallow us. I gripped my staff tightly, the wood rough and solid in my hands, and looked around at the people. Men, women, and children stared in awe, some with tears streaming down their faces, some mouths hanging open in disbelief. They had seen death at the gates of the sea, and now they saw life preserved in the midst of ruin. My chest heaved with relief and exhaustion, but I could not let myself rest. There was still the wilderness ahead, and the fear in their eyes reminded me that the battle was not yet over. I called the people together, raising my voice above the lapping of the waves. "Come forward, step onto the dry ground of the seabed. See the power of the Lord before your very eyes." At first, they hesitated, unsure whether it was safe to trust what they were seeing. But slowly, they began to step forward, the water forming walls on either side, looming impossibly high, shimmering in the sunlight. The sand beneath their feet was firm and dry, and a hush fell over the crowd. Donkeys and sheep were guided carefully, carts creaked under their loads, and even the youngest children were lifted and carried across, their faces pale with fear and wonder. The sound of their footsteps on the seabed echoed like a drumbeat of liberation. Behind us, the sound of Pharaoh's chariots grew closer. His pride and fury were relentless. The ground shook with the pounding of hooves, the wheels of bronze-strapped chariots grinding against the rock, and the shouts of his officers cut through the air like knives. He would not yield, he would not be denied, and his army surged forward with a terrifying determination. I could see the terror in the eyes of the people, their breaths coming in short, sharp gasps, their hands gripping each other, praying silently. I raised my staff once more, feeling the weight of the Lord's command resting on me. "Stretch your hand over the sea," I shouted, voice trembling, "and see the Lord fight for his people." As my hands lifted, the waters roared again, trembling, twisting. Waves swelled higher, as if gathering strength from the heavens themselves. The wind whipped around us, carrying the salt spray into our eyes, stinging, burning, yet electrifying, filling every nerve with fear and anticipation. The chariots reached the edge of the dry seabed, the horses snorting and stamping, men shouting, but the waters stood like walls, immovable and towering. I extended my staff fully, and with a single, shuddering motion, the waters crashed down. The chariots plunged beneath the waves, the screams of men and horses swallowed instantly by the depths. Foam and debris churned violently as the sea claimed what had pursued us, and then silence. We stood there, panting, our eyes wide, our hearts pounding. Not one Egyptian remained. The sea, once a wall of terror, was now a grave for Pharaoh's pride and fury. The sand was dry beneath our feet, and the people slowly realized what had happened. Children clung to their mothers' eyes wide, their small hands shaking. Women wept openly, their tears mingling with the salt of the sea spray. Men sank to their knees, overwhelmed by the enormity of the miracle, their fists pressed to the ground in gratitude and awe. The Lord had delivered us. The impossible had been made real. I could see Miriam, my sister, standing near the front of the crowd, her tambourine raised high. Her face was radiant with joy, her eyes glimmering with tears, and her voice rang out clear and commanding. "Sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. The horse and rider he has hurled into the sea." The people joined her, and together we sang, a wave of sound that rolled across the shore, echoing off the water still trembling in the distance. Feet stamped, hands clapped, voices rose higher and higher until the desert itself seemed to vibrate with the sound of praise. Children laughed, dancing with their parents, the joy of freedom so overwhelming it could scarcely be contained. Even as the song echoed, I knew we could not linger. The wilderness stretched before us, vast and uncharted. The sun blazed overhead, scorching the sand beneath our feet, and the wind carried a dry heat that would test our endurance. Water would be scarce. Food would be uncertain. The journey ahead was unknown, and yet, for the first time, the people were free. Their chains were gone, their oppressors defeated, their path illuminated by the hand of God himself. I moved among them, comforting those who trembled, encouraging the weary, helping the young and the old, stepped carefully onto the sand, Every face I saw was etched with awe, relief, and a dawning understanding of what had been accomplished. The first night after crossing the sea, we camped near the edge of the wilderness. Fires were lit, flickering in the growing darkness, and the people sat close to one another, exhausted, grateful, but unable to sleep. Children's breathing came in uneven gasps, and mothers hummed lullabies to soothe their fears. I walked among the tents, watching, listening, making sure every family was safe. I could feel the weight of responsibility pressing on me once more their lives were in my hands. But their hearts and spirits belonged to God. Morning came with a harsh light, and the wilderness revealed itself in all its starkness. Endless sand, jagged rocks, and sparse vegetation stretched as far as the eye could see. But above us, the pillar of cloud rose again, tall and commanding, a visible sign of the Lord's presence. Its shadow moved slowly over the sand, guiding our steps. The people followed in silence, the awe of the previous day settling into a sober recognition that the journey was far from over. The songs of praise still lingered in the air, soft echoes of triumph, but there was also a tension, a quiet readiness. As the reality of the desert began to sink in, as we traveled, the people looked to me for guidance, their eyes filled with both hope and fear. The young men asked questions about what lay ahead. The elders watched the pillar of cloud for direction, and the women kept the children close, whispering prayers and reassurances. I spoke to them, telling them to follow the Lord, to trust His hand, to walk as He commanded. Every step through the sand was careful and deliberate, every breath taken under the sun's fierce heat, yet each step was also a testimony to what we had survived. The wilderness would challenge us, but we had seen a power greater than Pharaoh's armies, greater than fear itself. By evening, we found water, bitter at first, then made sweet by God's command. The people drank deeply, and their faces shone with relief. Then came food, manna that appeared in the morning, quail in the evening, gifts from heaven itself. Every miracle reminded the people and me that we were not alone. The Lord had delivered us through impossible odds, and He would continue to guide us. That night, as the fires burned low and the stars stretched across the sky, we rested. I watched the people sleep, their faces calm for the first time in generations, and I felt a deep sense of peace. The sea was behind us, a monument to God's power and protection. The wilderness lay ahead, uncertain and testing, but the people were alive, free, and guided by a God who would not fail them. The song we had begun at the sea continued softly among the tents, a murmur of praise, of joy, of gratitude, a sound that would grow louder as we learned to trust in every step of our journey. And in that moment, I felt the weight of history pressing upon me. We had left Egypt forever, we had witnessed the destruction of an empire, and we had tasted freedom for the first time. The path forward was uncharted, the desert vast and merciless. But the Lord's presence was undeniable, a shield around us, a guide before us, a promise that would never be broken. And as I looked at the people at their tired, dusty faces, at their hands clutching each other, at the light of hope beginning to shine in their eyes, I knew that we were not just survivors. We were a people reborn, a nation forged in the fire of bondage and the waters of deliverance. People whose story had only just begun.